Hello everyone, this is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, October 5th with a midweek market recap video. We're first going to analyze the current market environment. We're going to look at some other markets, sector analysis, and then finish off with some of those popular individual names. So we're going to jump right into the action today with the Sp500 Spy Etf. We closed higher today, up almost 0.5%. This was the first higher close, green close that we've had in the past few days now. So let's take a look at where we've come from this week and where we are in this overall sort of landscape here. We started the week off with a gap lower. This was this candle right here. This was Monday's session. You can see we had a gap down based off of Friday's close, and we did kind of probe lower during the day, but the bulls did step in and rally us off of those lows. We finished, exactly where we opened, around 215.75. Tuesday, though, we followed up with more weakness, and we traded all the way down to 214, basically tagged it to the figure, and we did see, again, a little bit of a rally off of those lows. And today, Wednesday here, we started the day off with, about a 0.5% gap higher. And then we, really tight, kind of boring day. Most of today was traded within like a 40-cent range with a slight bias to the upside. And then towards the end of the day, that last hour, we started to see a little bit of selling pressure come in and close us off of the highs. So really, where are we? What does this all mean? Nothing. I mean, it's the same MO, it's the same kind of picture that we've been discussing all throughout the past couple of weeks here. We're going sideways, we're developing in this range, we're actually tightening up. The bigger range to keep on watch is this 217 to about 212.50, as you can see bracketed off here on my chart. But you could certainly refine that depending on how active you want to be. You could really look at those kind of lower highs we've been making and these higher lows that we've been making, and you can see we're starting to get close to some type of compression point where we're going to see an expansion out of this range one way or the other. 215 is still more or less the focal point, the midpoint that I'm looking at within this 5-point range or so. So that's the landscape. Nothing has changed. It's boring. It's back and forth. Now, of course, there are sector stories. There's individual names that are working, that are moving. We'll get into those later in today's video, but as a general kind of sense of what the market is doing here, it's not doing much. And if we zoom out, we still have this head and shoulders pattern that is potentially in play here. Once again, I'm not saying it's the likely scenario, but it's a scenario with the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder here. But we really just need a catalyst. And again, we have the jobs data out this Friday. Perhaps that will be an excuse for the market to sort of make a move, or at least put some motivated buyers or sellers in here to kind of push us out of this range one way or the other. But until something like that happens, we just have to kind of sit patient, wait on our hands, look for leading stocks or whatever your strategy is, and kind of approach the market that way. I know for us, we're basically the lightest we've been in a very, very long time, months, probably since the beginning of the year, just because not seeing a tremendous amount of opportunity here in the near term. We do have longer term holds on that we've had on for a couple of weeks, but nothing that I'm that we're immediately excited about or willing to sort of pick a direction based on this. So with that said, let's move into some of these other the other major markets here. The Russell also finishing higher today. Once again, you can see kind of the late day selling that hit, creating this little bit of a topping tail. And again, this is mostly going sideways here. It's at a little relative, it's positioned a little, better than the S&P 500. The MACD is positive here on the IWM. The SPY, it's still negative. So you can see it's still a lot of sideways chopped, little indecision, but still very close to the 26 to year-to-date highs. And then the Nasdaq, which had potential to close at new all-time highs today, but it also saw that fade towards the end of the day. And once again, a little more of a clear sort of upward bias here, amongst all of this recent chop, but still very lackluster kind of grind higher. MACD is positive, and we're still, kind of just waiting for more energy to sort of appear here. But once again, still the leader here is the Nasdaq 100. If we get into some other markets, TLT, this has been having a big move this week. Once again, we had the sell-off in mid to early September here as we broke down from this support at 138, traded all the way down to 133. Then we saw a nice sharp kind of bounce all the way up to perfectly retest this support level, which ultimately failed, and now we're heading back down to these lows. So we're already down 2% on the week. Going to be interesting here. You can see the MACD starting to curl lower. If we go on the weekly chart, if we go back to the daily chart, this is going to be a good line in the sand, good reference point down here. Perhaps we need to come back and retest this 133 area, these lows. So keep an eye on that. But certainly the sellers in control here in the short term for TLT. Gold also hammered this week, breaking down from this 125 support. As we mentioned quite a number of times, this was just calmly kind of consolidating here. We thought it could be a continuation pattern, but we certainly didn't want to get ahead of ourselves and try and play for one. We wanted to see a break of a trend line to tell us that the character is changing and it's ready to sort of reinitiate a trade. That trade ended up being on the downside. Yesterday's session, of course, down 3.5%. It's a very large move for gold. If we go to the weekly chart, you can see now, looking at it from this time frame, you really need to see if you're bullish on gold, which you still can be. You're still making higher highs and higher lows here. You're still in an uptrend, but you do want to see this higher low get put in here and not come all the way back down to 114 and then start to obviously start to break trend and go the other way. But one other note, if you're into Fibonacci, you're basically at the 61.8, I believe, based on where we closed. You're a little overshot as it stands right now, but essentially you want to see it hold more or less here, try and catch its footing. So that'll be interesting for you gold bulls. If you're looking for a dip to buy, you may get it. Silver, very similar situation, got hammered yesterday, down 5%, over 5%, and then trying to stabilize a bit today. Still finished lower, but a little bit, but off of the lows. So same type of picture. You go to the weekly time frame, you are in an uptrend here, but you want to see that higher low get put in sooner rather than later, and not a deeper retracement kind of get put in there. If we go to oil, continue to rally higher this week. Remember in last week's video, we talked about our entry, our breakout trade in USO. We bought it on Wednesday. This was the day, our midweek video last week. You can go back and listen to it. So we got long here. We sold basically a third of it on Friday on this day here. We sold some yesterday around, I don't remember the exact price, and then we sold the rest today. We're out of this trade, took it off in 3 pieces, and this is a nice win for us. We still have oil exposure through another ETF that we're playing for a little bit longer of a hold, so we're still bullish oil. Had a nice breakout here. It's coming back into these highs, so we'll take this position off. We'll ride out our longer term trend, but this is a nice trade. I like it. MACD rising, momentum catching up here. It's at prior resistance, or at least where it stalled back here in mid-August, so just pay attention to that. Otherwise, USO does look good. Natural gas also getting a nice bid today, starting to get back above 865. I like it, back above this sort of resistance area where it's failed basically one time here, twice here, once here, broke out in September, then we broke back below, and now we're trying to get back above. So still, kind of in a consolidation phase, but in the term of, terms of sort of an uptrend here, particularly on the weekly time frame, as it started to see a nice rally throughout basically June of this year. So natural gas definitely looks like some opportunity there to the upside once again, certainly worth watching going forward. Now, if we start to get into some of the individual sectors, these are the same big 3 that continue to lead, and especially today with financials really taking charge today. Many of these big banks, JPM, Bank of America, Citigroup, these are all at year-to-date highs. They're all making, basically new highs on the year. There's a lot of leadership here in XLF emerging, and this is certainly constructive here. It's been cooling off for the past, 4 weeks. We've actually been pulling back in the XLF, right? We've been sort of underperforming, or at least just stagnating, going sideways. And now, with the start of this week, we're starting to see that trend resumption back to the upside here. So interesting, interesting group. There's lots of names to choose from if you start to dig into the XLF. So make sure you take a look at some of those individual names if you don't have exposure and you want some. XLE also, that's not XLE. XLE also moving nicely today, mostly on the heels of oil as it's kind of ripped higher recently. A lot of these names have been emerging out of some nice patterns. Keep an eye on those names, dig into the XLE, take a look at opportunities there. And semiconductors. These are the same three sectors we've essentially been talking about for the past couple of months. And, at various stages, they slow down a little bit, but they're all, still showing tremendous strength. So those are the big three to keep an eye on and look for opportunity. On the downside, you have everything that's tied to rates. IYR real estate getting crushed this week, and particularly over the past 5 days. XLU, same exact situation. That's a stampede of sellers right there, not constructive action. And Staples, not as violent of a move over the past few days, but we've been noting this kind of weakness here in the Staples as it kind of flagged out near these lows. Nice short entry opportunity yesterday, and this continues to just be a very weak sector here. So got 3 on the strength, 3 on the laggards, and then you have a bunch kind of in between that are just moving sideways or not doing so much that's interesting. If we start to look at some of these individual names, let's run through them. Amazon just continues to float higher. There's not a care in the world here, making new all-time highs day after day now throughout this month, just ignoring everything else that's going on. Tremendous strength here. Wish I had a piece of it. I don't, but certainly leadership there, certainly something you want to look to get involved in on pullbacks. Netflix, impressive move here this week, up 8% already. We did talk about how tight this one has gotten over the past couple of months. Very, very unusually tight. Just look at the size and look at the overlap of the candles here in Netflix as opposed to the historic sort of ranges in Netflix. So you knew some type of expansion would be coming here. You obviously couldn't really guess to which direction, but it is now to the upside. Sets up some nice opportunity. Got Netflix basically back in play with momentum to the upside. That's nice to see. Facebook, this is one, again, kind of just like Netflix there. This is one that's getting unusually tight based on its historical ranges. Lots of overlap, getting tight here. This is something that is likely to be on watch for a breakout any day now. Something that, you should be worth paying attention to. Above 129.50, below 127, give or take 50 cents on each side. That's something that I'll be paying attention to. Priceline, one that we haven't talked about, one I look at quite a bit, but we don't usually talk about it in the video. This is at all-time highs, trading up at all-time highs. It's been making this kind of stealth move. Hasn't been the easiest move. It hasn't been super clean. There's been a lot of kind of 1 step, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back type of movement, but it is getting there, and it is coming close and tag that $1,500 level today, intraday. And then finally, Alibaba, we've talked about this one, right? Kind of trading higher in this channel. You can see it got a little sloppy at the lower rail of it, but it is starting to come back. Nice performance today, 1.5%. Still holding the 8 or reclaim the 8-day today, and continues to trend higher here. Losing a little momentum, but the uptrend still very much intact. So hope this video helps. As always, guys, if you haven't subscribed, please do so on the bottom right-hand corner. Keeps you up to date with all of our future videos. Good luck trading out there. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.